and welcome to the Mr. 50mm YouTube channel. I'm Chris. For today, we're going to the Wayback Machine. Way back. Similar to the era of the Kodak DSLRs. However, this time we're not picking up a DSLR. We're going for a Digi-Cam. And which one am I talking about? This one. The Sony Mavica FD-100. This Digi-Cam is pretty maxi. So let's get into it. What is the Mavica FD-100? Well, the Sony Mavica FD-100 is a Digi-Cam made by Sony, and it was released in 2002. And, if you couldn't have guessed, it's a bit big. Let's put aside a contemporary-ish camera, and I'll give you an idea of how big the bigness is. So, in my right hand, I'm holding the FD-100, and I'm going to slowly raise up my Sony A99 SLT camera. Boop. So yeah, if you have a look at that, the Mavica is actually taller. The actual wideness of the camera is fairly similar. And the main difference is the Mavica is thinner because it doesn't have chunky lens due to the sensor of the Mavica being not really a full frame one. Now, let's put the Sony A99 down, and let's have a talk through the Mavica's features. So, this camera features a 1/2.7-inch sensor, and it has a whole 1.2 megapixels. That's massive, right? Now, the lens on it is a 3x zoom, and it will do 6.4 to 19.2 millimeters from f3.8 to 3.9. The equivalent 35 millimeter focal length is 41 millimeters to 123 millimeters, a pretty reasonable range. The ISO of the camera goes from 100 to 400, and it has an auto mode, which is fancy. Now, the nice thing about this camera is that it takes Sony NP-F 330 or F550 batteries, which are still available today since they're using kind of a lot of lights. Like I'm using 2 over there for this set of lights. This A99 I think has the same battery as well. Let's see. Nah, it's using the F500, but the terminals are actually pretty similar. Now, as you know, this camera has one main party piece. You might have guessed the FD in the FD-100 means floppy drive. Let's have a look and listen at that. Now, this drive in particular is a 4x speedy drive. Now, you might have noticed on the sticker there, over here, that it says that it's got dual media. And it does. Aside from the magnificent floppy, you also have a memory stick slot. And I happen to have a memory stick in here. Now, I know the memory stick slot kind of takes away from the awesomeness of shooting the floppies. But, if you're out of 1.4 megabyte floppy disks, or you just don't want to, shoot with only 1.4 megs of disk, you can swap to actual, memory sticks. The one I have is an 8 megabyte stick. Pretty great. Now, let's power this up. Oh yeah, floppy goodness. Look at that. And yeah, so this camera still works. And the other thing I do want to mention is that this camera weighs in at 670 grams, which is a smidgen over 2/3 of a plena. Let's talk about what it's like to actually shoot this camera. Powering on, first of all, it's accomplished by this slider here. And it takes about 3 to 4 seconds. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So it's not super instant, but it's not actually horrifically slow for a camera this old. The camera has a lot of fun super slider switches, which kind of makes sense. You got your power slider right there. You got your mode over here, I believe. Yeah, here. Here, mode slider. So you can select between your photo review, taking stills, or taking video. And you have a slider over here, and that's for selecting if you want to write on a floppy or if you want to write on a memory stick. Now, then you also have, again, like I said, the floppy eject slider over here. And let's have a go at that. Boop. It just pops out. And there we go. Pretty awesome. Now, again, one of the nice things about this camera, when you're shooting it, I think it's nice, is actually just like the sounds that it makes. Let's give it a go. So you're gonna get a bit of flash, and we're gonna get. Oh yeah, you hear all of that? That's some excellent, excellent noises. There's one last slider though, and that's over here. So this actually is kind of a weird one. It seems pretty useless because all it really does is turn the backlight on the LCD off like that. So it's still actually, the other nice thing is that unlike some cameras, the frame rate during dark settings is actually surprisingly not terrible. Like I'm shooting behind my camera right now, and the lights behind me are off because lights overhead are fluorescent. So I'm just trying to avoid having fluorescent lights make the flickeries in the video, so they're off. But the frame rate of this camera is actually not too bad in its live viewness. Now, I do want to point out that this camera is a little heavy, but it's not super bad. Like all the controls and ergonomics kind of mean that things are reasonably well balanced, and everything kind of feels like you can operate it well with mostly your one hand there, because you got your zoomage, and you got a D-pad on one side, and it generally feels reasonably okay in hands. That being said, it does feel real cheap, real plasticky, because, well, it is. So, there's that. Taking photos, it's pretty straightforward. The camera really only has like the program automatic mode, and there aren't really any adjustments for this. Like you can kind of alter your exposure comp, and you can change the meter based on like some of the scenes by pressing the program button here. Ooh. Let's see, this one, yes. So you can scroll through and it'll give you different scene modes. And you can change your flash power, white balance, and as well as your image sharpness and whether or not you want to use digital zoom. That's really like all the settings you got. There's like a pseudo macro focus mode as well, where it kind of racks the focus into a couple specific locations, like macro, and then like a meter, half a meter, whatever. So not much to do with this camera. You just gotta pick it up and you shoot, and I think that kind of works out for what it's meant to be. So yeah, there we have it. Taking the photo is actually not too bad. It actually will do a half press, and like it will show you when it is in focus. What is it focusing on? I'm not really sure, but you get the green circly indicator of focusing. And yeah, you got a green circle, and it's good to take a photo. Oh, excellent. Right. So as I mentioned earlier, the camera head does have a zoom range. So there's a power zoom, and that is this toggle that my hand is on, or finger is on. It's actually super quiet, which is kind of nice. But yeah, the fun thing is when you actually do take a photo with the floppy drive, you can feel the floppy like writing it is like an experience on its own. So that, and I suppose that's kind of the main kick with these cameras. So yeah, super fun. Uh, the other thing that was shooting this camera is that, like, you'd think with a sensor so tiny you wouldn't really get any depth of field, and that's generally right. But in macro mode, you kind of get a little bit, and hopefully in the photo gallery you'll get to see some of that. Now, the thing that's kind of weird or not super fun with this camera is that the D-pad that it has is not super great. Next, let's have a look at the camera's ability to do like picture styles. It actually has a couple, and they all look kind of awful. So let's scroll through and turn it on. So you can see here, there is a couple modes. We'll go to the first one, and let's see. Solarize. Not sure if you can see that. That one just looks like everything's really weird. Black and white, your standard. That one's not too bad. Sepia, of course. And negative art. I don't like that. And you might have noticed that the camera makes hilarious sounds. I do like these. All the different kind of beeps for the different things that it does. It's pretty funny. Now, let's have a quick chat though about the floppy drive and its capacity. Now you got your 1.44 megabytes worth of photos, and with that you can expect to actually shoot about 7 shots. The camera has a really weird way to demonstrate the like shot capacity / shot counter. It displays the number of shots right beside the floppy disk icon, and then the disk icon will slowly like roll down, like it'll slowly empty, kind of showing you that you have no more shots to take. Now, this is actually the same for when you switch to the memory stick mode, but it does change the graphic to memory stick. I'll quickly show you those. So, as you can see, if you take a look at the top right of the display, there's a floppy drive. I've taken 4 photos, and therefore the drive is, half empty. I'll take another one right now, and you'll see it. Look at that. The number of shots went up. The drive capacity went down. Let's toggle that to memory stick mode so you can have a look at that. And there you go. That's the shots that are on there and the rough estimate of the capacity remaining. All right. Now, kind of weird thing about this camera is that the battery life is kind of incredible. So you might have noticed front of the camera, it had a little advertisement / little sticker there to show you all its magical powers. And you might have noticed that it said something kind of insane. On a single charge, up to 1,600 photos. That's a lot of photos. It's like 1DS flagship camera level photo numbers. Or up to 2.5 hours of like battery life with, I guess, a display on, just walking around doing stuff, which is a weird way to measure it, but I guess these were the pre-SEPA standards. So yeah, lots of battery life in this thing. Like I've only charged this battery up once. It's kind of awesome. The last thing I want to talk about is that this camera, like I said, it does have a movie mode, kind of. We'll have a look at how they look, but they record clips at 320 by 240. So with that, let's have a look at the photo and video gallery. Sorry, I have one more point before we transition to the video gallery. I had the manual open, and I wanted to double check the number of shots you can take. 1,600 photos is what you can get with a floppy disk. If you use memory stick only, apparently this battery will get you 3,400 shots on a single charge. That is an insane number of shots. All right. Now we'll head to the photo and video gallery. All right, see you in a minute. Okay, so before we go, I do just want to say this camera has been hilariously fun. It's not something I normally like take with me to do some serious shooting or anything, but it's just like a nostalgic look back at the early 2000s and what it can deliver. And you know what? This delivers nostalgia in spades. Hell, it like kind of makes me feel super old to enjoy the sounds and interaction of a floppy drive, but whatever. The images, as you might expect, they're not super bookalicious. They're not crazy sharp. Contrast isn't super amazing, and the resolution definitely lacks. But there's this look and feel to the photos that this kind of Digi-Cam makes, and you know, it's fun. Plus, it's kind of fun just walking around and taking photos, swapping floppies every 7 shots, for real. And just a little bit of extra information about how I came across this. There was a random lot locally nearby, and it happened to be like the seller was offering or asking 40 Canadian dollar reviews for a bundle of weird cameras. And so I picked it up, and this FD-100 happened to be in that bundle. So you know, pretty great. Like that's a lot of fun for $40. Got a bunch of cameras. I don't know if I'll make a video about the other ones. They weren't super notable, and the other Digi-Cam didn't work. But there were some film cameras in there which were pretty cool. So maybe later that might be another series that I might explore. Just random things that I end up finding and buying. If anyone's interested, you can let me know down below if you are. But you know, the point is, I spent $40 and I had a lot of fun with this camera. Let me know what you think of the FD-100, and do you think you'd look at getting one of these Mavica series cameras to play with? Yeah, leave a comment down below, and as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Till next time. Bye.